talk a lot about gambling. If you missed the news that just broke about 30 minutes ago, Shane Pinto of the Ottawa Senators has been suspended 41 games for violating the NHL's gambling rules. Now, a couple of things here before we bring Ian Mendes to the program from The Athletic, who covers the Ottawa Senators, a mainstay on this program, and others as well, and leading authority on everything Ottawa Senators. It is not believed that Shane Pinto gambled on NHL games. Not exactly sure what the violation was specifically. There have been situations, as Elliot Friedman mentioned in his piece at sportsnet.ca right now, where players have been fined/suspended for gambling on team facilities. I don't know if that's the situation here. A couple of other things as well. The suspension, by the way, as it stands right now, is 35 games. The suspension actually started with Game 1 of the Ottawa Senators season. It is half the season, 41 games. And the rule about not being able to sign after December the 1st is being waived in this situation as well. So I would assume that after December the 1st, or at some point, he will sign a league minimum or a close to league minimum deal, maybe as a thank you to the Ottawa Senators for not going public with this previous. One of the sidebars to all of this is, Pierre Dorion, general manager of the Ottawa Senators, has taken a lot of bullets and a lot of daggers and a lot of insults and a lot of speculation about what he's doing for his inability, quote, I'm using ironic quotation marks there, inability to sign Shane Pinto. And now we know why. Ian Mendes from The Athletic joins me now. Ian, thanks so much for joining me today. Is there anything from that opening, sort of trying to get all the facts out as we know it, is there anything you think I left out there?
No, not at all. And I think what's important here is you said, we're not sure exactly what the violation was, right? Like, we don't know exactly what he bet on, where he placed those bets, how much money it was it, and so it's interesting, like, right? A 41-game suspension leads me to believe that, I mean, let's put it this way. Like, if they found out that he gambled on his own team or gambled on the NHL, I think it's going to be a harsher fine than that, right? Like, so
gone.
Gone, and not really a question. So a 41-game suspension leads you to believe that maybe it does fall in line with, we've seen a handful of NFL. Like, it's interesting. Like, I think when you think historically, Jeff, you think of the first sport that comes to mind when you think of gambling is baseball, right? And you think of Pete Rose.
Baseball.
You think of the 1919 White Sox and all of that. And then the NFL, it's really come into play in the last couple of years. Calvin Ridley, very good wide receiver, took a full year suspension for gambling. Last year, I think, a handful of members of the Detroit Lions, and this year I know linemen with Tennessee suspended, and they weren't even betting on the NFL. They were just, hey, they're at the team's practice facility, and maybe they're betting on baseball or they're betting on something else, and that's against the rules. So maybe that's what happened here, and I think we do need to leave a lot of space to take a pause and figure out what happened here. But clearly, if we know anything, and you know the NHL so well, Jeff, they do their due diligence. So this was, weeks of an investigation. This wasn't 24 hours of an investigation. This was thorough on their part.
It was. And just for some historical context, and if you're just joining us right now, Shane Pinto of the Ottawa Senators has been suspended 41 games for gambling violations. Just so we have some historical context, this isn't the first time, you mentioned, the Shoeless Joe, 1919 Chicago White Sox situation, various NFLers as well. The NHL has been touched by sports gambling before, gambling on games themselves. In the NHL. 1948, Billy Taylor of the Rangers, Don Gallagher of the Boston Bruins, both suspended for life for gambling on hockey. Billy Taylor had his suspension lifted, I believe, just before he passed. Babe Pratt, 1946, suspended for gambling as well. There was a situation with Jaromir Jagr. There was a situation with Thomas Vanek. But in the quote-unquote gambling area or legalized gambling area that the NHL exists in right now, this is the first. And that sort of leads into another element of this discussion right now. And there isn't, Ian, one element of the game of hockey, or one area really that I can see in the game of hockey that isn't touched by gambling at all. We have a feature on this program. We see it on rink boards. We see it in commercials. We see it during intermissions. We see, NHL.com and here are the lines. It's become really ingrained in hockey culture in the last few seasons. I know for some it can be jarring and harsh, and some think it's too much, and some think it's just fine very much, and it adds another layer of interest or intrigue to a game. Do you have a thought on just maybe we really shouldn't be surprised at considering how gambling now is sort of hand to glove in hockey that something like this pops up?
Well, think about this too, Jeff. Like the first NHL team to have a helmet sponsor that was gambling related was the Ottawa Senators. A couple of years ago, they had a company, Bet99, and I think they've switched their name to Betway, whatever it is. But the Senators were the first team. Mm-hmm. And you're right. It is pervasive in our sport. You can't listen to a podcast, listen to a radio show, watch a broadcast, whatever, without being inundated with this. And it's interesting, right? Like it felt like, again, using baseball as an example, it felt like they were these one-offs over the years. But now if you start to think about it, as I mentioned, look at the NFL. I think in the last 18 months, how many NFL players have been suspended for gambling? 6, 7, 8? This is the NHL. And with Pinto the first, what does that tell you? It tells you that these young people are now maybe, like you said, it's at their fingertips, and maybe it's a little bit easier. And so, again, we have to wait on the facts on this one, right? Like, who knows? Like,
of course.
Who knows? Who knows what this is? But it does open up, as you mentioned, a great conversation to be had about how do we handle this stuff? And, is there a way to put the genie back in the bottle? And when you watch television, you watch a game on hockey night or whatever, Leafs regional, Senators regional, whatever, there's a good chance you're going to see that Austin Matthews ad. And I don't know, the province of Ontario talked about, hey, listen, starting in 2024, we don't want athletes and celebrities endorsing this because it's dangerous. It's an addiction that I don't know that we necessarily treat with the same level of seriousness as we do other addictions, but it's just as damaging to families and individuals. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to have those conversations in these spaces.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I'm curious about here, anytime a player is suspended for whether it's, a PED violation, one of the things that the athlete always talks about is how much he's let his team down and how much, he's sorry, he apologized for letting his team down. I know this just happened, but, one of the things here that we wonder about, and now Senators players and DJ Smith and Pierre Dorion, like everybody in the organization is going to be asked about this. I'm really curious to see what other players on the Ottawa Senators say about this once the details come out.
Yeah, and look, the Senators are playing. Here's the irony too, Jeff. They're playing in or on Long Island today, which is like that arena is a 7-minute drive from Shane Pinto's house. So I can guarantee you that last night Shane probably got together with the guys. I think they all knew this was coming. DJ Smith was asked about it today at his availability because this news sort of just broke. And I believe the comment that he told reporters was essentially, we have Shane Pinto's back and we welcome him back with open arms. And he's a very popular guy in that room. I don't think there'll be any awkwardness on this one. I really don't. But again, this is just literally dropped within the last hour, right? So there's so much context that's needed.
We want answers.
Yeah, we want answers right away because your show starts at 12 noon. But it's utterly fascinating because we don't. I mean, really, if you think about it in the hockey world, Evander Kane was the only other one I could think of that in the last 10 or 15 years has been, in Evander Kane's case, it was his ex-wife who alleged on social media that this was happening. The NHL undertook a thorough investigation on Evander Kane and found no wrongdoings. But this is a weird one because, like I said, it just doesn't feel like we've seen this happen in hockey before.
Shane Pinto of the Ottawa Senators suspended 41 games for sports wagering in conversation with Ian Mendes from The Athletic, who covers the Ottawa Senators. One of the people that I think of here is Pierre Dorion, general manager of the Ottawa Senators, and you're there, so what Dorian has heard about the quote-unquote inability to get a Shane Pinto deal done. Now we know why. I don't know exactly how long the investigation stretches back. I don't know at what point the Ottawa Senators had to disengage from contract talks to let the investigation finish itself up. I don't think that, Pierre Dorian's the kind of person that's going to do a "I told you so" type press conference or do a sort of victory lap for this is why the Shane Pinto situation, didn't meet a resolution. But I think about this at how he's had to endure a number of things said about him, swords and daggers and all of it. Do you have a thought on Pierre Dorian through all of this? And is he owed an apology?
Well, I don't know that he's owed an apology because I think it doesn't it certainly, Jeff, exonerates him from at the point when the league alerted them, all the parties, that there was an investigation to now. And whether that was 4 weeks, 6 weeks, that part, again, we'll wait and see. But there was a huge window of time in June, July, and August. And my guess would be he signed Tarasenko without this knowledge. That's my guess. And we'll see how the timelines match up. But he signed Tarasenko in July. He prioritized other people over Pinto, I believe, before this happened. So, but there's again, it's a tight one. Let me put it this way: the Ottawa Senators are capped out, and they don't have Shane Pinto signed. That's a problem. That's a problem that has nothing to do with Shane Pinto and this gambling story, and it's very much a reality they're living in now.
Yeah.
They don't have and they're capped out. And they don't even have this guy signed. So that, he certainly, I think, deserves a little bit of leeway for how maybe things have gone in the last few weeks. But I don't know that it gives them a free pass on the entire being capped out. That's just me.
Here's what I wonder about now, though, Ian. Now that the NHL is announcing this 41 game suspension for Shane Pinto for sports wagering. I do wonder if the play now is that Pinto signs either a league minimum or close to a league minimum deal because the news didn't get out and Ottawa went out the door and around the block to make sure that there were no leaks around this one. I wonder if as a thank you, maybe I'm being naive here, Ian. You can tell me if you think I'm being naive here. Maybe Shane Pinto, as a thank you, just for the remainder of the season, does a league minimum deal or something close to it.
Well, I think we can agree on this. Shane Pinto doesn't have a lot of leverage now, right? Whatever leverage he may have had, it's dissipated. And so, I think you probably look at this and say the way that this was handled was probably the right way, because I think it was really kept under wraps until probably the last 4 or 5 days is when it probably started to maybe kind of leak out a little bit. But I think now if you're Shane Pinto, you do have to pretty much get something done right away. And I guess you look at it too and you say, okay, well, if I'm going to be suspended for 41 games, if I'm going to be forfeiting salary, I'm not getting paid anyway, right? I'm forfeiting less salary, I suppose, if you look at it from that perspective. But they still will have to get them done, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll see how the mechanics of this work. When a player is suspended, does the December 1st rule still apply to him? My guess would be yes. That as an RFA, he's got
it doesn't. They're waiving that. I believe they're waiving that one. Yeah, they're going to waive that one.
There you go. See, that's something I just learned. This is why I joined the Jeff Marek show, is that I can learn things about the CBA.
Oh my.
So I wasn't sure of the mechanics of that.
I take it to the beach every summer.
Yeah. but I think, realistically, I think when I looked at it, I think the first game he could come back is the middle of January against Philadelphia. And I mean, if you're Shane Pinto, you have to start looking at that now, right? You have to start thinking, okay, well, now I can't come back and play in November and December. The earliest I can come back is January, and at this point in my life, I need to get back and play. And so, I absolutely see the path towards just taking a minimum deal and signing on the dotted line.
Let me ask about the team then, the Ottawa Senators here. So, I think, before everybody knew about this, there was the what's going to happen with Shane Pinto. Are they going to get him signed? What does that mean for, Matthew Joseph? Does he end up Eric Brandstrom, players whose names have been bandied about in various trade rumors, going back to training camp and probably even previous as well? What does this mean for Ridley Gregg right now? What does this mean for other players on the roster? Like right now, if you're an Ottawa Senator, you know that there's not going to be you're not going to wake up one morning and get a note from the team saying we've signed Shane Pinto and he's playing tomorrow night. That is not going to happen. So what happens now with the Ottawa Senators?
Yeah, and I think in the here and the now, it does alleviate a little stress for Matthew Joseph and Dominic Kubalik and Eric Brandstrom or anybody else who is potentially tied into, hey, the Senators need to shed $2.5 million in salary. We're looking at you. I don't see that being the case now, right? Like it buys everybody some time in Ottawa. It buys Pierre Dorion time. But I'll still say, Jeff, they have no room under the cap. Like you're seeing it tonight again. Artem Zub is out, and they just don't have enough money. They can't even call an extra forward up. They're basically bare minimum roster going right now of 20 players, and that's irrespective of Pinto. But you're right. I think if you're Matthew Joseph in particular, you were the guy that was told, hey, you're probably the rumor mill anyway, that you're going to be the guy traded. He can breathe a sigh of relief. And Ridley Gregg has been so good for them in the first 6-7 games of the season. He's looked like he belongs, and he probably breathes a huge sigh of relief as well.
Okay, before I let go of you, one quick non-Shane Pinto question.
Yeah.
What we saw Saturday, is that going to be the reception that Alex DeBrincat gets both on the ice and in the stands every time he's in Ottawa?
I think DeBrincat, and I had a good conversation with him a couple of times in and around that game. I think he's super happy, Jeff. The next time Detroit plays Ottawa in an Ottawa home game, it's in Sweden.
Yep.
Next month. So
he
doesn't have to deal with the booze over there. So he won't have to deal with this until next year. So I think it'll die down a little bit. Like I think he'll get some boost. But the first time is always the most sort of electric and toxic and emotional one. He handled it well. But boy, it was such a great atmosphere in that building on Saturday night.
So here's the one thing that I do hope, and I hope this happens sooner than later. I really can't wait for those two teams to meet in the playoffs. Really quick note here, Ian. This just coming in from the NHL. The league's investigation found no evidence that Pinto made any wagers on NHL games. The NHL considers this matter closed, absent the emergence of new information, and will have no further comments. Essentially, it's up to us to dig. Right now, Ian Mendes, it's up to us to dig.
Wow. Yeah. Again, that's vague, right? But like we said off the top, Jeff, if he bet on NHL games, he wasn't getting a 41-game suspension. Like you're talking about lifetime ban at that point. So
I believe that. I believe that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're bang on. Ian, great stuff as always. So thorough, so on top of it. Thumb on the pulse, all of it. Thanks, Ian. You enjoy what's going to be a very crazy day, not just because of the game tonight against the Islanders, but this Shane Pinto situation. You're not going to see your pillow for some hours in the wee hours of tomorrow morning, Ian. So load up on caffeine, my friend. We'll talk soon.
All right. Have a great day. Thanks for having me.